Thank you.
I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's meeting on this very rainy Tuesday on May 6th. This is the 9th meeting of the City Board of Directors for calendar year 2025. We'll begin with an invocation provided by Reverend Donald Crossley of St. Mark's Missionary Baptist Church, and I'll lead the pledge. All rise.
God our Father, we are so thankful for this time, this opportunity to come. And we pray that whatever is said and done here this evening, that it will be pleasing and acceptable unto you. We pray that all things will be done decently and in order. We pray, God, that you would bless, for we know that we live in one of the greatest cities throughout Arkansas, throughout the world, because you have blessed us in a mighty way. And we pray that you will continue to hold us and keep us in your care. We pray that each person that will present tonight, that it will be done in a way that each one can come out victorious. We pray that you bless all that we're to pray for, even when we don't know how to pray. We pray that you would bless our coming together, teach us how to walk circumspectively, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the times, knowing that the days are evil. We pray these in Jesus' name. Thank you, sir. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Phyllis Beard.
Present.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Dudley Webb.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia. Here. Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. This time we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from consent agenda to new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Director Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. At this time, we'll consider approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled held meeting of April 15, 2025, and the special called meeting held on April 29, 2025. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Director
So moved.
Webb, second by
Second.
Director Dobbs-Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are adopted. Recognition of guests. I had a young man from Math and Science. I was going to come and make a presentation on his Youth Empowerment Initiative. He's under the weather today, so we'll try to reschedule him if time permits. Later this school year or the first part of next school year. I think he's a junior this year, so he'll be back next year. Any other guests to be recognized? You're all our special guests, especially when you want to come out on this rainy day, so thank you. At this time, we'll move on to the City Manager's report, and Mr. Bill Burrow, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I want to lead off with some new hires that we've had to our city family. Abigail English is joining us as a Hot Springs Police Department 911 dispatcher, 911. Spencer Hill, Utilities Plant Operator, and Chad Cook, Planning and Development Building Inspector. I'd like to welcome them to the city of Hot Springs. I also want to recognize one of our firemen, Fireman Taylor McCullough. Hot Springs Fire Department held a helmet ceremony on April 22nd for Firefighter McCullough. It's a big deal to go from the yellow helmet to the black helmet. It's about 18 months of training, so it's really high achievement when that happens, and want to recognize Taylor for all of his efforts. He's going to be a fine fireman. I also want to congratulate several of our Hot Springs Police Department officers who recently had their badge pinning. They graduated from ALETA, Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy Basic Class 2025A. Our new officers are Officer Thomas Haley, Officer Larry Morales, Officer Andrew Bell, Officer Brandon Bush, Officer Jared Wilson, Officer Jonathan Velasquez, and Officer Michael Washington. With special recognition to Officer Brandon Bush, who received the Servant Leadership Award for the class. So want to welcome all of our new Hot Springs Police Department officers. Parking, a little bit about parking. We had a successful rollout of the employee parking permit program. We're happy to report that the rollout of the new employee permit program is proceeding successfully. As of May 2nd, the programming for the online application permit portal went live as planned. Employers can now access the portal and begin the application process for their respective employee parking permits. City staff are reviewing and processing applications pretty much on a rolling basis each day as they come in. There's an easy-to-follow video that provides step-by-step instructions, which has, I think, greatly assisted the process. Over the coming weeks, staff will continue to monitor the employee adoption of the new system and address any potential questions or issues. I want to recognize our Deputy City Manager, Lance Spicer. He has done a lot of work on our parking program, and really glad to get that rollout out there. A couple of events that are coming up. City of Hot Springs Parks and Trails Department, they'll be dedicating Velocity Park at 10 a.m. Thursday, March the 8th. That's over on Valley Street at 325 Valley. Please attend if you're able. Also, the Hot Springs Park and Trails Department will be having a groundbreaking of the Stokes Creek Greenway Trail at 10 a.m. on Thursday, March the 22nd. That's going to actually be over at 271 Kimmery Street. I'm sorry, May, thank you. When I say April?
You said March.
March. It's my birthday, man.
It's an M.
Yeah.
It has an A in it too.
Police Memorial, that ceremony will take place at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, May the 15th at the Police Memorial Monument there in front of the Sheriff's Department at 525 Washita Avenue. I know several of you like to attend that event. I'll actually be out of town on the 15th, or would certainly be present there. Want to also make you aware of one of the largest events we have in the Solid Waste Department. This is in partnership with the Southwest Central Regional Solid Waste Management District. But the Household Hazardous Waste Collection for May will be May 17th from 8 to 1 p.m. at the Garland County Fairgrounds. A lot of people ask, well, what's a household hazardous waste? I pretty much say it's anything you see under the kitchen sink. Some of the things that they won't be accepting are commercial quantities, unknown products need to be in their original container with labels, any explosive materials, and lead acid batteries, which those can also be recycled at almost any auto garage. The 2024 Annual Drinking Water Quality Report is now available. You can find that at the cityhs.net under the Utilities page or under the Utility Billing Services page. We used to send that out with every bill. Now it's online, so anyone interested in looking at the Drinking Water Quality Report, again, go to the city's website under the Utilities page and you'll find it there. Solid Waste, I want to recap another huge event they had, again, in cooperation with Southwest Central Regional Solid Waste Management District and the Garland County Environmental Services. They hosted the 21st Annual Spring Fling event, which was held on April 26th and 27th. This event allowed residents to discard unwanted items at one of the 30-yard roll-off dumpsters that were spread out all over the city. In speaking with Solid Waste, they collected 195 tons in that one weekend. Wow. I think they had like 89 hauls of those construction boxes. So those are big days and a lot of days. I think they're all working about 12 days straight by the time they get done with that event. So really proud of that and want to congratulate them on another successful event. Animal Control had their rabies drive. Hot Springs Animal Services, they held the drive in partnership with the Temperance Hill Animal Hospital on April 27th. I was kind of astounded by this number, but they had 230 attendees that brought their pets in for rabies vaccinations, microchip, and or city licenses. So really good turnout for that as well. The new water treatment plant, that's progressing well. We finally have some of the machinery that's up and running. There's a few things they still need to do in the staff building, but the plant is starting to come alive. It's kind of interesting to see that. We do have water now out of Lake Washita to the plant. So they're running some of those tests. Still on track, should be late fall. We should have that, that dedication and ready to turn that project on. Mayor, that's my report, in case you have any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Burrow? Not so much a question, just a comment. I was able to attend last Friday's badge pinning ceremony for the 7 new police officers. I think they range from age of, I think, 20 years of age to upwards to 40 or 44 years of age. Some with prior military background, and I think we even have an MMA fighter.
We
Is
did.
that not right?
We do.
Am I not right?
We do.
And he's not the biggest guy.
He's not going to practice those techniques.
So you might want to have him lead you into the alley. So, no, we have a good group a diverse group of new officers, both ethnicity and age and background, and really a diverse group. So I think they'll fit in very, very well with the current police force and our community at large. So I thank the chief very much for these new recruits. Directors, announcements of upcoming events. Any upcoming events? Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to remind everyone of the upcoming Memorial Day fireworks display that will be Sunday, May 25th at dark at Lake Hamilton Highway 7 South Bridge, and that will commence at dark. For more information, you can call 501-321-2277. And I also wanted to remind everyone that tickets are on sale now for the first ever Arena League football here in Hot Springs on May 31st at 8 p.m. at the Bank of Ozark Arena at Convention Boulevard. The Hot Springs Wise Guys will be playing Axemen. So this is the first professional football, arena football here in Hot Springs, and tickets on sale now, and you can get more information and buy tickets at hotspringswiseguys.com.
Director Webb, are you suiting up for that?
I considered it. I'll be on call, so if the owner's
need you.
listening to our meeting tonight, I'll be on call if he needs a replacement.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got an announcement for everybody of an upcoming event, and I want to invite all of you here, all of you listening, and the entire Hot Springs community members to the District 4 Quarterly Town Hall to be held Thursday, May 15th at 5:30 p.m. at First Lutheran Church, 105 Village Road. Guest speakers will be Justice of the Peace Jimmy Young to provide county updates, Lieutenant Zahner from Hot Springs Animal Services, who will be sharing updates from Animal Services Department, including the adoption process, summer safety tips for pet owners, and then also volunteer opportunities. I'll also be sharing a neighborhood crime report, updates on neighborhood watches, city updates, and so forth. All speakers will take direct questions from audience members. And also, and this is the big one, there will be taco dinners from Taco Pronto for everyone, free of charge to the audience. So please plan to attend, invite your friends, your neighbors, your family members, come and join the fellowship, and also come with some questions and good ears, and let's have a good meeting. Again, that date, Thursday, May 15th, 5:30 p.m., First Lutheran Church, 105 Village Road.
Boosted your numbers.
Here we had Cinco de Mayo yesterday.
I ate Mexican yesterday, too.
Very good. Okay, any other announcements? Director Holliday?
Thank you. I wanted to let everyone know about the America's Freedom Tribute. It'll be out at the Hot Springs Memorial Airport, and what this is, it is a traveling exhibit that is a 3/4 scale replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and it will have all 58,000 fallen soldiers on that memorial, just like it is in DC. It'll also include honors for those fallen from 9/11, Iraqi freedom, the war in Afghanistan, World Wars I, II, Korea, Desert Storm, Somalia, and others. There's information and recognition for those who have lost their battles with PTSD and suicide awareness as well. But the exhibit will take place, like I said, out at the airport. Grand opening is Thursday, May 22nd at 1. There's an opening ceremony May 23rd at 6 p.m., and it continues all the way through 10 p.m. on Monday, May 26th, Memorial Day. So that's something really impactful. I hope everyone will take advantage of the whole weekend to go see that.
Thank you for sharing. Any other announcements? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These are of routine nature. They do not merit individual discussion, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Director Garcia? Director Webb? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. At this time, we'll have a public hearing. We're going to hold a public hearing on the request to abandon, close, and vacate a portion of a certain city right-of-way located along State Street in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Do we have, the public hearing is now open. Do we have anybody who wants to speak on the vacation of the section of State Street? Please come forward. State your name, address, and district, please.
Chelsea Everhart, resident of 200 Pullman Avenue, the address that is impacted by this decision. Can I read this? Do you want this?
Kim Everhart, 216 Lookout Circle, District 4.
Please proceed.
Okay, we are interested in requesting vacation of the right-of-way of the sidewalk that runs along 200 State Street. We're concerned about safely securing the property perimeter while still maintaining access to the handicap ramp and allowing for safe fire egress from the bedrooms of the building that would be hampered by having the fence on the inside of the sidewalk.
We have passed out some documents that go along with what we're discussing today, including photographs of the area that is in question. At one point, it was put forth that we could potentially put a fence along the inside of the sidewalk, but that does not allow for safe fire egress from the building. The property lines do intersect with part of the sidewalk. However, the sidewalk does end at the end of the handicap ramp, and then there is no sidewalk for the remainder of the area because it does go into the Pullman Trail area. The surveyed property lines, which we have included, do interfere with the handicap sidewalk, and we have included that with photos G and H. How we have it fenced, there is still off-street access where people and pedestrians can travel along the roadway without being in the direct roadway. And finally, with this, we have attached an email from Michael Hill stating that there is no right-of-way on this property, which is why we began with the fence in the first place, because we were under the impression that there was no right-of-way included.
Okay. So you are the petitioner for the vacation, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you're in favor of that. Any questions of the applicant? I know we're going to bring this up under new business. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing will be closed. Moving on to our first item of new business is to consider Resolution R-25-97. I'll ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-24-97, a resolution awarding a bid to Milton Excavating, Inc. for demolition of, I thought that said structure demolition, 228 Orange Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Got a motion by Director Garcia, seconded by Director Webb. And the staff report will be provided by Michael. Chief Building Inspector. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, board members. Here's some background information on this property. The Board of Directors passed a resolution on...
Let me ask the ladies who are you going to speak?
Well, we are her neighbors, so we're here to support her.
Yeah,
And
that's fine. If you want to speak, you can have a chair. We'll recognize you here in a little bit, okay?
Sorry about that, I didn't see it. The Board of Directors passed a resolution on September 6th of 2022 condemning the old Hot Springs High School gymnasium located at 228 Orange Street. Since that time, the Planning Department has requested bids for demolition on 3 occasions. In November of 2022, 2 bids to remove the structure were received. The first was from Environmental Enterprises Group for $246,249, and the second from Milton Excavating for $78,000. And while this was the lower of the 2 bids, it did not allow the cost of asbestos removal and remediation. Following this bid, the city organized the project into 2 phases and requested bids for the removal of the asbestos and lead-based paint from the structure in Phase 1. After receiving only 1 bid of $26,000, the Board of Directors passed a resolution on July 2nd of 2024 awarding the project to Environmental Protection Associates in August of '24 for Phase 1 of the demolition project was completed. In September of 2024, the city opened bids for Phase 2 of the demolition, and at that point, we received only 1 bid of $175,000 from Melton Excavating. Due to the increased bid of the project, this bid was rejected and a new bid planned for 2025. Last month, the city opened the 3rd bid for this project. 2 bids were submitted. Cleve Blatt Construction of Texarkana submitted a bid of $1,222,660. Melton Excavating submitted a bid of $130,000. Since the condemnation of the structure in 2022, the owners have failed to make the needed improvements to the structure, allowing the risk to the public safety to increase as well as being blight on the surrounding community. Therefore, the recommendation is to proceed with Phase 2 of the demolition and request the board award the bid for demolition to Melton Excavating as the lowest responsible bidder. The taxes on this property are currently fine, and there is a lien of $26,030 for the asbestos removal on this property.
Any questions from the board? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the property taxes are current, and
Yes.
have they been being paid by the owner?
I don't know who they've been paid by, but it shows them current. They're not due until October 16th of 2025 in the amount of $474.03.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Holliday?
Thank you. You mentioned that we had a bid from Milton Excavating prior that was 175, and now it's 130. The scope of the job changed, or it was just their price changed?
Well, we sat down with him and we kind of negotiated what we really thought we could afford and how he could do it. And Brian, did we change anything, agree on anything else other than normal?
No, obviously, the asbestos came out earlier, so
Yeah.
the previous bids didn't include those any longer, but no, it's a solid bid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, sorry.
I was just
Continue.
saying, I'm not sure what the other company was thinking, but their
Yeah.
They
figure.
obviously didn't want the job, but if they did get it, they were going to be happy.
The other thing, it kind of dovetails on Director Garcia. You know, we've had a lot of conversations about this particular structure, but since all of this has kind of been in the works, we really haven't had any, obviously nothing significant, but there's no open permits at the moment. There's nothing happening with the structure. It's just
Nothing at
sitting.
this time right now. No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, you mentioned that there hadn't been any improvements made by the owners since 2022. Have you heard any kind of feedback from the owners?
No,
Of the
no, they
property?
did do a TPO roof on the front office area, you know, a few years back, or I can't remember when it was, a year and a half or so ago. But that was it. But the main structure roof, which is collapsing, and the roof rafters are rotting, they've done nothing on that. They put a tarp on it.
How many square feet are we talking about this structure is?
I don't know. I didn't look that up on Act Data Scout, but it's a lot.
It's a big roof, right?
Big roof. The big
Thank you.
arched roof, yeah. Challenging.
Any additional questions of Mike? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Harmony, did we have anybody sign up to speak?
No, sir, we didn't.
Did anybody want to speak on this item? Just want to make sure that the people that were coming in behind Mike, they're on a different subject. Okay. Discussion amongst board members? Discussion amongst board members?
I can give Director Webb his answer here in just a second, the size of the structure.
Pardon?
Mayor, those two ladies that were just at the podium, were they to speak on this item?
No,
or
they
just-
were going to speak on
Okay.
the vacation of the, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little over 25,000 square feet.
Okay, there being no discussion, please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. We're moving on to consider ordinance O-25-23. In order to move forward, I'll entertain a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Director Webb, Director Trustee, I got a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance O-25-23, an ordinance abandoned to close and vacate a portion of a certain city right-of-way located along State Street in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mike Hill will provide the staff report. He's Assistant City Engineer. Welcome.
Did they want to speak
Well,
first?
we go in process. You're first.
Okay. Good evening. Property owner Kim Everhart filed a petition to vacate a portion of the city right-of-way. Mrs. Everhart acquired 200 Pullman Avenue, formerly a church building, and is converting it to a residence. As part of the renovations, excavation work was needed to waterproof the foundation of the building. Mrs. Everhart inquired that the sidewalks along State Street must be repaired if they were damaged during renovations. Engineering confirmed that the sidewalks were privately placed and did not need to be repaired if damaged. However, a later survey shows that a small portion of the private sidewalks encroach on the city's right-of-way along State Street. Mrs. Everhart wishes to fence the property, retain the sidewalks to help with handicap access to the only ramp access to the upper floor. The city engineering department recommends that approximately 3 feet of right-of-way along State Street be vacated to allow her to retain the sidewalk and fence the yard. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Mike? Director Webb?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So Mike, about, this once was a church, about how many, residents can live in this establishment once it's complete? Do you know? Might
Never
be a
been
question for the owner.
Yeah, I've never been
Yeah.
inside that on the day.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions of board members for Mike? Thank you. We do have a few people that have signed up to speak. Ms. Chelsea Everhart, did you have anything further you want to say over and above what you might have said at a public hearing?
I had stated my piece. Some of my neighbors wish to speak.
That's fine. Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
My name is Florine Walker. My address is 207 Pullman Avenue. And I am her neighbor. And I just wanted to say and stuff, what she's doing and stuff, I don't really see a problem with it. I mean, it brings our neighborhood out. It looks very good and stuff, and I don't see a problem with the walkway, a sidewalk, or right, and stuff, and that's what I wanted to say
Very good.
and stuff.
And my name is Monique Davis. I live at 205 Pullman Avenue, right next door to my mom.
Yeah, step forward to the mic.
Oh, my name is Monique Davis, and I live at 205 Pullman Avenue. And I'm also Chelsea's neighbor, and what she's doing is the church looks wonderful. I don't have a problem with it. I don't see any harm or anything. It looks really nice, so we support her with what she's doing with this fence and how she's fixing the church up and everything.
Very good.
So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Did we have anybody else who wants to speak on this that didn't have an opportunity to sign up? Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Director Webb?
Mayor, thank you. I just appreciate the efforts by Ms. Everhart for what you're doing to this church and allowing more availability for housing for that neighborhood. And it is a bright spot too for that neighborhood, so I appreciate y'all's efforts. I support it.
Very good. If there's no further discussion, please call the roll.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday. Aye. Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. I was remiss in not recognizing some individuals who were appointed to boards and commissions earlier during the consent agenda. Within the Hot Springs Historic District Commission, we had appointed Ms. Nicole Good and Mr. Garrett Sweeble to the Historic District Commission. They're both here today, and thank you so much for your willingness to serve. There's always plenty of opportunities to serve on boards, commissions, and committees here within the city of Hot Springs, and we appreciate the individual talents and experience that all those people provide for us. They're a real asset, and it's a good way to be involved in your community. So thank you too, and we had others. Alexandra Stafford and Dakota Wright were appointed to the Animal Control Advisory Committee. So there's many ways of serving the community, and we thank each and every one of you. Moving on to consider ordinance O-25-24. I'll entertain a motion in a second to suspend the rules and read by title. Director Webb, seconded by Director Garcia. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-25-24, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 6523 relating to the purchase of two F-250 utility trucks from Smart Ford pursuant to the State of Arkansas Cooperative Purchasing Program. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Director Trustee, seconded by Director Webb, and staff report will come from our Public Works Director, Mr. Ron Seavright. Welcome.
Good evening.
Looks
Good
like we
evening.
got a bunch of coffers tonight.
On February 18, 2025, the Board of Directors passed an ordinance number 6523 waiving competitive bidding and pursuant to purchase two F-250 Ford 3/4-ton utility beds with trucks with Tommy lifts from Smart Ford, as authorized pursuant to the State of Arkansas Cooperative Purchasing Program. When a transaction commenced, it became known that the vehicles from Smart Ford intended to sell were 2023 models rather than 2025 models offered on a state contract. Because the City of Hot Springs desires to purchase new 2025 vehicles, staff has solicited bids for the 2025 Ford F-250 3/4-ton Super Duties regular cab 4x4 trucks with utility beds equipped with Tommy lifts. Thus, ordinance number 6523 should be repealed.
Any questions of Ron? Anybody sign up?
No, sir.
No? Discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday. Aye. Beard.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Our final action item of the evening is to consider ordinance O-25-25, and I'll entertain a motion in a second to suspend the rules and read by title. Director Garcia?
Second.
Director Webb. We got a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Council, please read by title.
Ordinance O-25-25, an ordinance amending Title 16, Chapter 2, Ordinance Number 6513, and Title 4, Chapter 10 of the Hot Springs Code of Ordinances as they pertain to food truck parks and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and a discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt. Director Trustee, second by Director Garcia. And Mr. Albright, our Mr. Albright, our city attorney, will provide a staff report. Thank you.
Not a member of the Blues Brothers. Sorry, I did have cataract surgery yesterday. Mayor, members of the board, as you all know, the board recently adopted a new zoning code from the planning department. That was ordinance 6513 that was adopted November the 19th of 2024. As a result of a few years, really, of planning, that became a high priority for the board and stayed on your list of priorities for 3 years. There were a couple of dozen public meetings regarding this. The drafts were always made public. In any event, after the adoption of this and the effective date, which was March 1, it became evident that there was perceived to be a negative impact on existing and operating food truck and seasonal operation vendors within the city limits. And so what the zoning code required was that food trucks, as that's defined, were supposed to go into food truck parks by the end of their term of their current license with the city. After looking at how our zoning ordinance interacted with the state regulations as well as our existing transient merchant ordinance, it became pretty clear that was an issue that could be rectified. Mr. Burra, Mr. Spicer, and myself met with some local vendors, owners and operators of both the seasonal operations and the traditional food truck, and shared the proposed amendments that we would be bringing to you for your consideration. That was met with really enthusiastically, and I think everyone is on board with what is being proposed. Should you pass this amendment this evening, the food truck park portion of your zoning code would no longer apply to seasonal operations, which are defined by the Arkansas State Board of Health as any establishment operating a seasonal basis not to exceed 150-day period of time per calendar year, limited to serving dispensed drinks, coffee, snow cones, shaved ice, or other similar ice-based products, duly licensed and operated as a seasonal operation in accordance with the rules and regulations promulgated by the Arkansas State Board of Health. Next, it would also not apply to mobile retail food establishments, which we typically think of as food trucks, that are participating in an allowed special event pursuant to that permit. Would also not apply to private events where mobile retail food establishments are hired for the duration of the event for catering purposes. In other words, if someone's having a wedding, a reception, and they want a catfish truck to come in to cater their guests, so be it. That's not going to be prohibited by this particular ordinance. And lastly, franchisees of the city. As you know, we have concessionaires at Kimberly Park. We have a franchisee downtown Hot Springs, Elote, Corn. Those are also pursuant to different rules under the city's franchise agreement. So with regard to all the others that are currently operating in an established location, any mobile retail establishment holding a duly issued City of Hot Springs license for an existing location prior to July 1 of 2025 may continue to operate in such location, subject to the rules and regulations of Article 15 of our zoning code. Article 15 is our pre-existing non-conforming use provisions, which essentially says as long as you're operating the way you're operating now, nothing needs to change, but you can't expand it and you can't abandon it or walk away from it for more than 12 months. If either of those things happen, then you have to follow the new regulations under the new zoning code. Be happy to attempt to answer any questions that you might have prior to hearing from. I know we have some folks here that have an interest in your decision this evening.
Any questions of Mr. Albright by the board members? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. So Brian, at this meeting, following your presentation of what you just shared with us with food truck vendors, both seasonal and I guess long-term, was the consensus by all that they are in favor of what you're presenting to us tonight? Was there anybody in objection?
You know, I know that there's someone on the front row that was here that day, and I'll let you ask her. I think that it was very favorable, yes,
Okay.
very favorable.
And by favorable, nobody was in objection? They were all in agreement?
They were very happy.
Thank you.
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify and confirm the question I had last week at the agenda meeting. If I understand correctly, that fits into the catering,
Yes.
and that is covered from your explanation and what I understood following the
Yep,
meeting.
yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct?
That is right.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
ma'am.
Director Holliday?
Thank you. One thing to clarify, these amendments do refer to food truck park, but for the most part, all of the things that are listed in the code as far as what a food truck park is, with the permanent restroom facilities, 15% of the lot area should be common. All of that is remaining in place. What it is that we're discussing is just those who are, primarily those who are going to be falling under that and required to go into a food truck park, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That, yeah, I mean, the essence is, these vendors, these operators will not have to go to the park that is being established under the new zoning code,
Correct, but the establishment of parks moving forward is still in place.
and became effective March 1st.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Everybody clear? We'll go to the audience. I've only had one person sign up, and that's kind of unusual for the number of people here, but, and that name was crossed out. But anybody who owner or operator of a food truck would like to come up and speak, please come forward. State your name, address, and district, please.
Good evening. My name is Seth Luton. I live at 2104 Hobson Avenue. I'm in District 3. Shout out. All right. I do appreciate that the city realized that there were some issues with food carts or food trucks moving to a food court. However, I believe that as you move forward, you are going to not encourage any more food trucks into our city. And food trucks is one of the easiest way that a young entrepreneur can come up and make some money on their own. I've heard it said before that sometimes food trucks are in competition with restaurants, brick and mortars. It takes a lot of money to do a restaurant. It takes a big business loan, and you have to pay all that back. It's true. But for someone of not financial means, a food truck is a way to make a good living with not as much money. If we begin to push food trucks with this ordinance into food truck parks, we're going to be limiting diversity in our city. We really are. Right now, there are approximately 280 restaurants in Hot Springs, and there are approximately 80 food trucks operating, some seasonally, some all year round. And I think that we're really limiting some of the people here in our city, especially since Arkansas is like 47th in the state for median income, since we're also limiting, just the average person here in Hot Springs' ability to actually make a living. This is one way that they can do it. I would encourage you to really think about this. If other food trucks are going to come in, they're going to incur more and more expenses. Then you're going to have food truck parks that aren't full, and people aren't going to go there. It doesn't make any sense if you have a park for them to go to if you don't have any food there for them to eat. Also, who's going to eat food at the park that's not close to anything, in town? Where are these parks going to be? How are they actually going to benefit the business owners that are trying to make a living? Are you going to put them out there by the mall? Are you going to put them, there's no more room at 420. So where are we going to put all these trucks? And there's people out here that want to know. I just ask you, please consider these things before we go on and make this ordinance a thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there additional individuals that would like to speak that are owner operator of a food truck? Well, thank you. Appreciate you. Discussion amongst directors? Director Holliday?
Hi, I believe this question may be for Director Selman, if that's all right. it's specific to the parks, and it's just kind of a little bit of clarity. It's, I apologize, it's a little bit of a sidestep. But one of the things that it does discuss as far as the food truck, and it was one of the concerns was being an accessory. And I know we're saying that if someone is in place at the moment, they'll be fine if they're next to a gas station or a restaurant. But just for clarity for the public and to make sure that I fully understand that, when we're talking about an accessory to an existing building, business or structure, is that defined by the parcel, by proximity, by utilities? What is it that would determine that it is an accessory?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
I'll attempt.
Okay.
The difference is, what is the primary use of the parcel?
Okay, so it's based on the parcel
Yes.
itself, because you and I had spoken before about there are these huge parcels and huge parking lots that could be utilized. So it's not obviously an accessory to the whatever.
It's not an accessory building, and it's an accessory use.
Okay, because that's just one of the things I do think moving forward, kind of looking at kind of best use of some of our available space, encouraging us to get creative on kind of how to use some of those spaces that we have. But that's why I wanted to make sure, was it specific to the parcel as opposed to something that's a little more obvious for the use, attached to a restaurant kind of thing. So that was it. Thank you.
And if that's the case, then she would then look to see whether or not it qualifies as a park.
Correct.
Right, and a park is one or more
Yeah.
trucks. So there's no requirement that it be a cluster of trucks.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you.
with respect to those that are existing now, you're right, that they fall into this grandfathering
Right.
category. But if they don't continue, then they'll lose that.
Correct. Thank you.
Sir, please feel free to come forward and state your name and address and district, please.
Thank you. My name is Paul Hayes. I live at 1349 7th Street. I think that's District 2. And this is the first time I'd heard about this coming to this meeting, but I had an idea pop into my mind that I think would be good for the city. We want to make some revenue from all the parking places. And I'm sitting here thinking, if you take 2 or 3 parking places and designated a food truck slot and scatter those all over where you have paid parking and where different food trucks could rent those, I would bet a kidney without a worry at all about having incisions right here that you'd make more money than you would from parking. And so I don't know if this is far enough along that you can't consider anything else, but for what it's worth, I wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience, a food truck operator or owner, want to make a comment? Well, thank you very much. Any discussion amongst directors? Director Dobbs-Smith.
I guess this is a question for Director Selman. What was the thinking behind organizing the food trucks into parks? And I apologize, I attended at least 5 or 6 of the informational meetings, and I don't even recall food trucks coming up. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I just am curious as to why we wanted to put them into parks.
The reason for putting them into the park, and the park has a definition that requires that there be permanent on-site restrooms, reliable and safe water supply, wastewater disposal. The independent locations are quite varied in their approach to providing those things. So that came up as something that could be put into a one spot, and that it could be more economically feasible to provide those things if more than one truck was there. So rather than saying that every independent truck had to provide these things, I mean, they are required to comply with the utilities regulations as to both freshwater and wastewater. But there is typically not provision for a place for people to wash their hands, to toilet for, a variety of reasons. People brought these things up, and this was an attempt to make sense of those things.
So this is like a nationwide movement towards?
I would not say that there is a nationwide movement.
Well, I mean, usually we get our regulations they're handed down from the state, and the state gets them from somewhere else.
The requirements to do these things are already in place in a variety of different regulations. This collects them in one area.
Thank you.
And it's a land use matter. It's not a crusade or a national movement.
Thanks.
Very good. I didn't know we had a sweeping food truck issue across the country.
Not as far as I know.
Thank you. Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank the city management and staff for bringing this issue back to the board as soon as possible after issues were identified. Although there appeared to be from 22 till 25, over 24 public meetings, it was not readily well-known, myself included, of what this particular part of the update to the code included, so I'm happy to rectify that. The grandfathering this in is consistent with other city codes such as annexation. We grandfather in non-conforming land use at the time of annexation and with the same regulations. That once they do not use that for the period stated, I believe 12 months, then that's lost. So that is consistent with other policy, and it appears that some of our new code and land use may make it easier, especially it just takes one food truck to get a food truck on a small size of land. So it appears to be win-win if all the current food truck vendors are in concurrence that this is the right thing to do. I support that as well.
Very good. Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. I again want to thank city staff for taking the time to get back to the table with food truck owners, both seasonal, long-term, to come up with a solution that appears to be satisfactory for those that were at the meeting across the district. I did speak to a couple of different food truck owners in District 4, and I just spoke to a couple that are here tonight that are in my district. They're all in agreement, and because they are, I am too. We are. Thank you.
All right. Please call the roll.
Director Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. This time we'll consider Board of Directors items for discussion. Do we have items for discussion amongst the board? Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to keep my statement or board commentary short but meaningful, as I do have a motion to make following my statement. The local permanently disabled veterans STR ordinance is a needed service that can provide immediate financial relief to disabled veterans right here in Hot Springs to prevent these veteran families from falling below the poverty line. It is highly important that we bring this ordinance back to the board for the May 20th board meeting to be amended. The amendments can be discussed by all of us at this meeting, as well as hearing from the public to determine how to best make this ordinance meet the needs of Hot Springs disabled veterans. These veterans left our country healthy, defended our freedom, and returned back to our country broken and disabled. They deserve this ordinance to be passed to pay respect for all the sacrifices they made for me, you, and the entire United States of America. As I look out here tonight, do we have any veterans or supporters of veterans here tonight? Would you please stand? Veterans or supporters of veterans?
I support veterans.
Would you please remain standing if you would like this Board of Directors to bring this ordinance back to the board May 20th? Thank you, and I want to thank you veterans for your service. Thank you. It's at this time, Mayor, that I make a motion to vote to bring the local permanently disabled veterans STR ordinance back to the board May 20th to be amended, and I ask all of you to please support this effort for our veterans. This is an ordinance which will allow and give Hot Springs a bright light of compassion. Thank you.
Well, we have number of issues there. One is that matter was already voted on and failed. And therefore, you have the 180-day rule unless 2/3 of want to bring it back. So
That's what I'm asking for, Mayor, is for 2/3 of us tonight to bring this back to the board May 20th.
So if his motion needs a second, then I'll second it.
I'm just trying to get a procedural down right now. Is it appropriate to vote today to do that, or do you do it at the beginning of the meeting on May 20th?
Well,
The sequencing of events.
yeah, so if something comes the night of the actual business meeting for which it's going to be heard, that's covered under a different section. What he's looking at is 2-1-6.1, paragraph 11, which is the 180 days. If an item has been won or lost, voted up or down, then it is not to come back to the board unless there is a motion, second, and 2/3 vote of quorum to bring it back at a subsequent agenda. So his motion is well-founded.
Okay.
It has received a second. It is a debatable motion. It's not one where you have to vote right now. You can debate the merits of the motion.
Okay, so we're we got a motion and a second. Do we have discussion?
I have a question, Mayor.
Director Trustee?
Thank you. Brian, can it come back in exactly the same form it was?
That's what I understood he's doing, bringing it back exactly as it was with the intention of amending it.
But, I mean, that section you just read, does it have to be any different than what it was that was voted up or down? It doesn't. It can come back just like it was.
That's really what this provision speaks to, is bringing back the exact same thing.
Exact amendment.
We could get into an esoterical debate about whether or not a little tweak is a change to bring it back as a new item. I think that's an argument not worth having.
Right.
But as he's made his motion, he's made it correctly under this provision. It's received a second. It would be the exact item coming back to you at a future agenda. And if there's amendments to be made once it's on the floor, so be it.
One last question. Does it come back to the next board meeting, or does it come back to the agenda meeting to be put on the agenda for the following board meeting?
He's asked for it to be on the 20th, which means it would need to come to you on your agenda meeting next week.
That's correct. Okay.
Director Garcia?
I had a procedural question, not specific to this motion, but rather after our business meeting and we go into board commentary, can we make, we can make motions after that for anything?
Until the meeting's adjourned.
Okay. That's what I wanted. Thank you.
I just also have clarification. I know that we discussed, originally Director Webb wanted to have an additional 25 set aside for just over and above the threshold of 400 for veterans, and that failed. Director Trustee made a motion to that it be 5. It died for lack of a second. I think then Director Webb, I could be getting my sequencing off, said, well, we can do permit number 96, 97, 98, 99, or excuse me, 396, 397, 398, 399, and 400 be reserved for, and that did not move forward. Of course, now we're at, what are we at now? 400? So that's not an option, so so I don't know what the options are. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. By bringing it back to the board, the 20th, that gives us an opportunity in between now and that time to start examining what those options are. And it could be that when it comes back to the board May 20th, that we do end up settling on having that number drop to 5.
To what?
And it's my understanding, and this is coming from city staff, that if we were to try to move to embed any reserve spots in that 396 to 400, that could create somewhat of a nightmare from a logistical perspective with staff and paperwork and documentation. It's much easier just to do 5 on top of the 400, but reserve those 5 for just local permanently disabled veterans. And that's what I was sharing prior to me making my motion, is that's the whole purpose of bringing it back to the 20th. It gives all of us and the public, you know, almost 2 full weeks to sit back and look and think, how do we get this right? How do we make this right for our veterans?
Would it be better served to have a work session on that then? Following the next agenda meeting?
Yes, sir. If we, you know, were to do that work session in anticipating of having this come back the 20th, because there is that time factor too that is sensitive for these families. We've got, I know one family who is depending upon this now, so much so that it's causing some issues with their family. And here, we're talking about a husband and a wife who both are permanently disabled veterans, who both served our country. They need this ordinance for their financial security. So yeah, if we were able to pass this tonight to get a 2/3 majority to bring it back the 20th, and in between now and the 20th do a work session, I would find that to be highly favorable, to answer your question.
I don't know what would come out of the work session. I was just, what I was concerned with is that this body wouldn't be participating in the design of any particular ordinance addressing the subject. It would just appear again, and we would not have had the benefit of having a work session discussion. And that's all I'm saying. I don't know what would come out of the work session, but I know that, you know, the majority of us will not be intricately involved in the design of what you're thinking, you know, if we don't have a work session. So, Director Garcia?
It has nothing to do with this specifics, but my concern is, once we've had other actions that were voted down, that the party that requested them was told that to come back in 180 days. How do we pick and choose, and are we setting a precedent? And it has nothing to do with not supporting veterans. I don't want any inference. I resent if there's any inference that if you don't do this, you don't support veterans. I also support disabled firefighters, law enforcement, EMTs. Are we going to include them too? Or how is this going to all work together? And just a concern about all of that together, as well as the precedent. going to do this every time something doesn't pass? Because we've told other people to come back, and some have come back later. They waited the time and changed it up to what they brought. So just, I'm wondering if this is too short a period that it's going to be ready for any change by next week, because that's when it'd be presented at the agenda meeting. I'm not.
Correct. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. So, Brian, have I followed procedures by this board by making this motion here tonight?
You have brought this before the board in a way that is contemplated by your rules.
Thank you. And, you know, I'm not entertaining any hypotheticals of what might happen or what if this happens. I'm acting on something that's real, that is providing a solution for an issue that is happening right now affecting our veterans here in Hot Springs. It is important that we act on this tonight, and I would just ask that you please vote to bring this back to the board May 20th, and if between now and May 20th we are able to do a work session to determine the best need fit for this ordinance, then I would favor that. Can we vote?
I'm going to make a comment. You know, I believe we need to have a work session without this vote happening today. So I'm going to vote against it. I would vote in favor of a work session. I mean, we can schedule a work session, but I'm kind of concerned we're getting the cart before the horse. But any further discussion?
Yes, I would favor the work session as well. I have questions about what happens to that license if that veteran passes away or sells the property. Does it go with it? Does it go away? I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I'd hate to see us rush into this without having the proper information. And there are questions about if we do disabled veterans, or are they veterans of foreign wars? Are they veterans of the fire department? Or, I mean, I do think there are some other things that we need to consider. So I would be in favor of a work session.
Call the roll.
Director Garcia.
No.
Trustee
Aye.
Holliday.
No.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
No.
Webb.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
No. Motion fails. You're still going to have a work session. You want a work session after the agenda meeting?
Yes.
Next
All right.
Tuesday.
We'll have a work session immediately following the agenda meeting.
Is there anything you'd like staff to have prepared for that work session?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. We don't, I guess we're going to have a work session, and we're going to maybe hear some of Director Webb's thoughts on it over and above what has been shared in the past.
Very good. I just didn't want to.
Director Webb, is there any information that the city manager can provide or work up?
I think, thank you, Mayor. I think Ms. Selman can probably provide aid in that area. And I'll be thinking over it tonight to get to the specifics of what I would envision we would need for the work session, and then work with Ms. Selman.
If you
and
need to
Bill.
work with Ms. Selman, you need to go through my office.
I will. I plan on it. Appreciate it.
Director Garcia?
I would just add that I've looked at a lot of other city ordinances regarding this, but I haven't seen specific sections of this nature. If there's anyone that knows about any that have adopted something, it'd be good to review those as well. I had a comment. I just wanted to thank everyone that came out, and in addition, we mentioned our pinning of our police officers, but I wanted, and you mentioned the firefighter, the whole fire department, and our groundbreaking for the new fire station down in South Hot Springs, and everybody kept their comments short, so it was completed before the downpour. And that was great. But it was a momentous occasion for that groundbreaking for me. Thank you.
What district is this going to be?
District 5.
Director Holliday, did you have a comment?
I did. You had asked if there was anything that we'd find helpful in advance of this work session, and I'm happy to do the research for myself, but personally, some of the comments about the why in this is talking about those who are permanently disabled, service-connected veterans falling into poverty. So if we have any actual data as to what that income is for a 100% disabled veteran versus a 70, 80, or 90, how many disabled or permanently disabled veterans, do we have, what are we actually talking about here? How many people could this possibly affect in our community? And the federal poverty level for a single person at this point is somewhere around $15,000, which we all know you can't really live well on. However, I think that if that is the why, we need to make sure that the numbers add up. So.
Okay. Any other comments? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. To speak to that point, in that original ordinance that went before us a few weeks ago at a board meeting, there were data points that related to the income for permanently disabled veterans, as well as some numbers that concluded how many veterans are in Hot Springs and how many of the veterans we have in Hot Springs that are disabled too. It was included in the packet.
Well, we can pull that, and Bill, you
Bring
can
that back to work
send
session.
that out again.
I'll bring it back to work session.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments before Director Garcia speaks? Director Beard, did you have a comment?
Well, since you asked.
Well, you pulled your mic down, it looked like you were.
Well, I got something I can say.
All right.
I would like, while we're speaking of the agenda, I would like for the item to be put on there that I mentioned where properties have the taxes paid on it, meaning that there's a vested interest in the property. If it comes up for condemnation, I would like for the person paying the taxes to be notified. And I'd mentioned that before. So can that be on the May 20th or the next agenda meeting as well?
Is that, Brian or Bill, is that more of just a internal process when we, as far as when you put your packet together, you're notifying the property owner, you're sending a registered letter? Is it just another step that we can kind of create a form for the file, if you will, and then make that a part of the packet? Or is that something that needs to be ratified?
Well, are you wanting this to be part of the required service method?
Well,
That they be added as a party of interest?
I think that I understood when I brought this up for the house on 320 Vine Street, and I asked if, the taxes came up, and if someone is paying the taxes, that's someone that cares about the property. Example, the owner, it may be deceased and their children live in North Carolina, so they don't come back often, but they're paying the taxes on the property, and they don't get the letters that went to, I don't know if you send the letters to the deceased person or if you put a note on the door, whatever. They don't get that because their name might not be on the, whatever you do to contact the people. So, eventually they may come back home to an empty lot that they had been paying the taxes on.
Yeah, similar to the situation on Garden Street where we were able to contact the heirs.
Well, actually, I contacted the heirs.
Well, I said we, I didn't say I.
Well, no, but when he stood before us, he said that he could not make any contact with the heirs. That's what the, from the planning department.
Okay. So, I mean, again, I think it's fine if you want to have that as a step, as part of the sharing the action with them, but I would not advise making it mandatory that they be served in the same manner as who is required to receive service under the law. You're raising the bar too high.
Well, and help me understand, because this is very important for the amount of houses that have been torn down. So if we go back to the house on Garden Street, the there was a discrepancy about the taxes, that one party said the taxes hadn't been paid, another party said they had been paid. And then the owner, as I understand, was deceased. So I don't know, are we sending letters to deceased people? Like who do you contact if the owner is deceased?
Yeah.
I mean, and I know what you're legally required to do, but if that falls under the law as someone being dead, then.
Right. So there were two properties side by side, same decedent, was the still record title holder of that property. There was one son that had taken responsibility, if you will, for one of the structures, and a daughter had taken responsibility for the other structure. When you have a decedent and there is not an estate open, there's not a personal representative for whom you can issue service upon, then, and you can't, obviously they're deceased, so you can't serve them. You have to go through an ad litem process, and that becomes what's referred to as constructive notice. And so after we send registered letters to the last known address on file with the assessor's office, which is what the statute requires, if that comes back, then we do an ad litem, which includes, among other things, publication in the newspaper for legal notices, and we include in your packet a certified copy of that proof of service.
I think we might be saying the same thing. You contacted what's legal. You did what you're supposed to do. I'm asking for an extra step, like when we found the children that lived on Garden Street. That was a simple Facebook post. You know, when we also look for children or other tax holders, or taxpayers rather, like, is there, this is my question.
Sure. What
can we do to go a step above what the legal requirement is? Because sometimes that person is deceased, and you're not able, as far as I know, to make contact with deceased people. So if there's an heir, and this is something that I actually seen in the planning department, don't you guys have some kind of people finder where you can find heirs of the property, or someone that's paying the taxes? Like, you're able to find out who's paying the taxes on the property.
Sometimes you're able to find out who pays the taxes. Sometimes it's anonymous. But yes, if you would like for us to make that a requirement for our checking the boxes for packets that planning brings to the board that answers the question, did you attempt to find heirs? What were your results? But I would not want it to be made a part of the legal requirement, because again, you've changed it. We will have properties that we will never be able to raise if that becomes a legal requirement, because it's currently not.
Well, I understand that, but this is the problem that I have with the legal requirement, and that is the bare minimum of what's happening. The person that is deceased, do you send the letter to the last address? And if that person's deceased, then they don't get it, but their kids don't get it either, the person that's paying the taxes.
You know, I can't make someone get forward mail. I can't make someone open up a probate and dispose of the property properly, legally. I can't require them to do that. I can't make that happen.
Right, but if they're paying taxes on it, then we can take their money.
Well, we don't take the
Or
taxes.
whoever, if they're paying
Yeah.
taxes on it, then somebody's getting that money, so
Sure.
it's
City of Hot
not.
Springs does not have an ad valorem tax, so it's not,
Well,
they're not.
whomever, no one's sending the check back.
They are not.
Okay.
And.
Let me ask a question, Brian. What is the responsibility of the attorney ad litem?
So the responsibility of attorney ad litem is try to find any last known address of the record title holder. So you go to the assessor's records, you find out who the record title holder is, you send certified, return receipt requested, restricted delivery notices to those addresses. If they come back, then a warning order is published. Constructive notice in the newspaper, and that becomes part of your packet. That's what the law says to do. If the owner is unknown, if it comes back from their registered address on file with the assessor's office, then you treat them as an out-of-state defendant, which is publication in the paper.
Okay, so there's no requirement on that individual's part to try to find next of kin, other than what you just said, you're going to publish a notice.
Right.
Director Beard said a Facebook post brought forward an individual, but that is that person's responsibility to try to find a.
Right.
I don't know if anything I've said, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if if what I'm saying is being understood by you, but I know I know the law from what you're telling me, and then I'm asking for a second step. And so an example of a second step is what I did when the Garden Street house came up, and I took a picture of it and I posted it, and that lady came here. And remember what she said when she came here? I'll tell you. She says that she had been paying the taxes on the house and no one contacted her. No one. And if people send money to pay for taxes on a house and no one, and they're not contacted, it's just not a good look on, it's just not a good look. And I think, I know that you're an attorney, so you studied this, but for the common layperson that wants to preserve a parent's house like this lady did in Conway, she had no idea. She had no idea that her house was up for condemnation, and she was preparing to repair the house.
Director Garcia?
Yes, might this be something that, for this subject, I know you sent out some information about what a attorney ad litem is, but maybe this condemnation, liens, foreclosures would be another work session to have delve into understanding, because it's my understanding, or when you look up on the website for the county, you can see if the taxes on a property are paid, but I can't see who paid them. And so I don't, but it maybe this maybe would be a work session instead of, I don't know where we're going right now.
It's the board's pleasure, but I mean, I'd be happy to discuss it as part of your work session next week if you'd like.
Right.
That'd be
Yeah, we
fine
can
with
have
me.
a second part of that work session to include this. I certainly appreciate the city attorney's advice that, we don't want to have a standard greater than state law. We can't be held to that. I understand where Director Beard's coming from. A simple Facebook post brought forward the heir, or excuse me, the daughter of the deceased. So there should be maybe somewhere in between we talk about, is there another step the staff can do as it just relates to, social media or so. But that can be discussed at the work session.
And I'll be happy to put together some ideas about that, about what can be done.
I think anything you did in addition to what's already being done would be great.
We can do more.
Okay,
Director
thank you.
Dobbs-Smith?
Why can't we just post the pictures on our city website? At least one, just one, the main, not all the pictures of the inside, but this house is going to be voted on for condemnation next week.
Well, these are all good ideas that we can create, but as, again, going back to what does the law require? We got to do that if we want to do a few other things.
We're already doing what the law requires.
Yeah. Director Holliday?
Thank you. I have a quick question. The person who pays taxes on any property, is that something that is even available publicly, or is that private?
It's not always available, as Director Garcia just said. You can go in there and see whether they've been paid, but it doesn't necessarily tell you by whom.
Right, but I mean, that's on Act Data Scout, but,
If you were to go to
but if the city were to call the assessor and say, you know,
Do you have a receipt for payment of taxes? That kind of question?
I was curious if it was something that's considered private and privileged, or if it's considered public.
Well, sometimes people mail checks in, and I understand that you wouldn't be able to find every single person, but Miss Henderson, who has a house in the historic district, that was going to be up for condemnation. It took me all of 8 minutes to get a response. I'm not saying that, that this was so little. The effort that I made was so minute, and then she was able to come here and reclaim our house. So something more I know we're following the law, but anything that we were to do in addition, unless someone likes tearing down these houses, I'm just trying to provide solutions, because the houses are being torn down in District 2, and that's not okay with me.
Okay, we got that as a second item for a work session. So I just want to have a shout out to a particular motorist. I don't know who that motorist is. He's driving a black Jeep down Central Avenue. You know, the National Park side had electricity. The city side did not have electricity. Of course, I guess the street lights are fed from the city side. And so there was no street light operational at the corner of Central and Mountain Street, which is right in front of the Fordyce Bathhouse. It was raining cats and dogs. I had a big umbrella, and I'm trying to cross the street, and I'm going, well, it's 5 o'clock, and it's to the degree that we have a rush hour, there was a rush hour. I couldn't get across. So this one Jeep, he stops, and then slowly everybody else stopped. Of course, I shout out to that motorist for recognizing that there was just going to be no way to cross Central Avenue without that crosswalk light operational. So thank you very much. And it's just another saying out there that, kind of watch out for everybody, and, take a pause, and so you get back to your home or 30 seconds later. So thank you. Director Garcia.
If there's no more comments, I move to adjourn.
Boy, we got well, that comes later, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor of a motion and second to adjourn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. We're going to change over.